So yeah, it's that biggest show of the year, and nobody shows up. It's like that time when you plan a party and you invite everybody and you get all excited because you think everybody's going to be here, and then no one comes.
No one comes. Nope.
Yeah, and you've
Or
got
they all
all,
show up once you start cleaning up, then they show up.
yeah, everybody's going to come at around 10:30 when we're done and be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I thought only the Too Many Guys soccer show, biggest show of the year."
Mhm.
Season preview is the one that we look forward to the most because it's that one show a year where we all have optimism. Some of us may have varying degrees of optimism. If you're Chelsea Mike, you could be competing for the title. Then there's, you and London Sean and G, who are just optimistic that you won't suck. We'll hopefully hear from Andy the Hammer later on tonight. Maybe he can tell what it feels like to go into, like he has to be going through it. I'm optimistic we're in Europe. Maybe we can repeat, but you have to feel that anxiety of, but it's that one show. And so we had the biggest show of the year and the one where we invited the most people to participate and nobody shows up. So only the Too Many Guys soccer show can pull that one off. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again for the worst 2 hours and all of podcasting, the Too Many Guys soccer show. I'm Mike. I'm joined as always by my trusty producer and co-host Stead, who is chilling in his grandpa chair amongst all the leftover furniture and kitschy signs in the vacation house and enjoying a much needed break before it's back to the real world.
Absolutely.
Dun, dun, dun. So hopefully it's going all right. I know that you had a bear sighting earlier today.
Yes.
As long as the bear doesn't walk off with anything valuable, we're all good.
Right. Yeah, the bear sauntered through. Looked like if we were on his property, so we all just stayed in the house, and he proceeded to continue his stroll. He could be sitting in the woods right behind me, or he could be 10 miles away by now. I don't know, but that was. I'll just say I was a little rattled and rattled.
As I like to tell people all the time, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. Yeah. Except nature. Nature will go out of its way to try and kill you.
Absolutely.
Bears.
And they will, and they are 100%.
Bears, shark, stingrays, platypus, half the snakes in Australia. Pretty much all the wildlife in Australia is there to kill you. So what am I talking about? Yeah. So
stay out of the water too.
Let's just stay out of Australia. It is a great place. I would love to visit it, but I have never seen such a concentration of things that are determined to kill you.
Spiders, they got spider problems over there.
Spiders, platypus, sharks, snakes. Even the terrain.
That's true. You just make a left and
you're out in the middle
of
the
desert. Yep, forget it.
And yeah, there's a reason why nobody lives there. Yes. Speaking of Australia, Lionel Messi. Yeah, I'm going to admit I didn't even try to do a transition there. Man, that escalated quickly.
Yeah, I'm sad though. I'm really sad.
Why? Because it's the end of an era?
I wanted him to go anywhere but PSG. Anywhere but PSG. I'm not ready for that. And to go to, let's just be honest, that's the lowest of the big five leagues. You're going down to the bottom and you're playing on a team. You might as well have gone to Greece and played for Olympiacos. You're on a team that, any game that they lose in Ligue 1 will be because players are rested, because they have a big Champions League game coming up. And this will occur when they're already up by 15 to 20 points in the middle of December. So and what's worse is I know I'm going to watch, and I've never watched, but I'm going to watch. I mean, that starting 11 they could put out is going to be, it's odd when you look at the starting 11s from every other just top 5 side in France, and then you see that PSG team. I don't know. I was disappointed. I was like, go anywhere. Go to Manchester United. Go anywhere. Don't go to PSG. And of course, PSG has the deepest pockets, and they're just like, here.
I think it's PSG have the deepest pockets, and the only reasonable way to afford him.
Mhm.
I kind of think even City were struggling
Mhm.
to afford him, and you had to look
After the
at
Grealish deal, yeah.
what league possibly has that. Once the 100 million was signed, there are reasonable salary cap rules even in England. Once Grealish was signed, you can't have Grealish and De Bruyne
Mhm.
and Sterling and Messi
Mhm.
all in the same lineup.
Mhm.
It just wasn't going to work. And I don't think they paid the better part of 160 million pounds for Jack Grealish to sit him on the bench while Lionel Messi plays. And the one thing we know about Messi is Messi does not like to come out of games.
Nope, he does not.
So you had in that lineup, I mean, it would have been a perpetual rotation of Sterling, Mahrez,
Mhm.
and Grealish, because De Bruyne doesn't come out that much either. And
Yeah.
they still have no striker. I think once the news broke, it was kind of it's going to be PSG, because
Yeah, we all knew it was going to be PSG. We did. We all knew it. I mean,
even if you talked about, late bids by Chelsea to hijack it,
yeah.
The possibility of MLS, even MLS, there is for all of us out there, for all of you out there, for anybody out there who thought MLS was a possibility, no, it was never a possibility.
It was never a
There
shot.
are, I understand the David Beckham comparison, but they are two totally different circumstances. Number one, David Beckham was never rated as highly or compensated as well as Lionel Messi was.
Mm-mm.
And number two, at the time that he made that deal, David Beckham had basically been non-contracted by Real Madrid,
Mm-hmm.
and for all intents and purposes, put out of the side. He was training with the reserves.
Yeah, he was what, 31 at the time, and still a very marketable star,
but not a player anywhere near.
I mean, and you look at 31 for most of these guys, you got to remember they start professional when they're 16. So 31, that's a lot of years. That's 15 years on the body. That's considerable, and it's understandable why a player would have any sort of decline. When we see in American sports, that's usually when they're kind of hitting their prime. But a sport that demands the cardiovascular fitness of soccer, it's understandable. So for Beckham to be put in the same comparison is really, I don't know, not fair. I mean, Lionel Messi is like that's
light years.
You don't compare. Yeah, you don't compare the two.
I think David Beckham's best finish in the Ballon d'Or was second. Lionel Messi has won 6.
Yeah,
and is still going.
And Beckham finished second, but it was like a 1 year where he kind of popped in and he was in there, but it was a big year. It's kind of like the Griezmann year, where Griezmann had that 1 year where he was like, oh my God, he's going to be European Player of the Year. And then he's gone back to what he was before, which is a very good player. I mean, I'm not taking a shot at Griezmann. I'm just saying, like, that just shows you the level of that Messi and Ronaldo play at.
So as a player, Beckham wasn't it. And then financially, they were never going to give him the same sorts of incentives, because they can't anymore. No. The league will not countenance even offering Messi part of ownership of a team. It would devalue the value of the franchise fees too much. They were hemming and hawing and trying to figure out, and hoping and beyond hope, that Beckham couldn't pull that one together. The highest salary in the MLS right now is Chicharito, the highest. Now we know that MLS salary cap rules are about as clear as a swamp on a cloudy day, but the highest listed salary is $6 million for Chicharito. So even if you believe that Chicharito's making somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12 million, and they're hiding another 6, and I'm going to use hiding in air quotes, it's one thing to hide $6 million. It's one thing to hide 4. It is a completely different thing to try and hide 41. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know where, why would Nike sign him to a massive sponsorship deal and be invested in having him be in the MLS, which is an Adidas branded league.
Mm-hmm. Right. You
know, they're not going to do it. Well, I don't know of any other corporate sponsorship that's going to go out of its way to facilitate this move for revenue detail or additional endorsement money or something like that. I just don't see where, even in something as obtuse as MLS salary cap guides, how you hide the better part of $40 million.
Yeah,
right,
and there's also, you have to remember this too. Messi doesn't really speak English.
No.
You know, he can when he has to, but he's not going to be one who's going to be on talk shows, and he's not going to be, you know, giving pitches on, you know, he'll have a smile and a commercial holding the Pepsi can, and that's about it. So that's another reason why you can't really compare Beckham, where Beckham was, you know, clearly deep involved in media and in fashion and in that world.
That was what his branding.
That's what his brand was. Right.
Yeah,
exactly. So you still can't really use the Beckham comparison. But, and also too, I think Messi would have been eternally bored playing in MLS. I really do.
I think he would have been internally bored. And for somebody whose stated aim is to compete for another Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
And to compete for another Champions League and to continue to compete at the top levels for the top trophies, they thought of competing for MLS Cup.
Is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, or yes, we could be the first team to win the CONCACAF Champions League.
Yeah.
You know, he wants to win that 7th Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
We know that the margins are going to be thin. Like, I don't care if he scores 150 goals for PSG next year if they don't win a Champions League. Even with him winning the Copa America this summer, if they don't win the Champions League, he will not win the Ballon d'Or.
No, he won't.
He won't.
Mm-mm.
There's no way. He could be the leading scorer in Ligue 1 by a country mile. If they don't win the Champions League, he will not win, because the expectation on that team is that they will win. It is more of a shock that they lost last year than it is anytime they win. If they go unbeaten with a goal differential of 1 million, you know, that's the weight of expectation that they put on themselves right now.
Well, when you look at this squad too, and granted, they didn't pay top dollar for all these players, but they did pay top dollar for a lot of them. But you have Mbappe, Neymar, Messi, Di Maria, Wijnaldum, Verratti, and then you have Kurzawa, Ramos, Marquinhos, Hakimi, and Donnarumma.
They got Wijnaldum, Donnarumma, and Ramos on free.
For free. So,
but now, still high wages.
Yeah, but you know, I'm also though, there's no way you can pretend that Ramos is what he used to be. He is not. No. He is not. Which is probably why the Ligue 1 move made the most sense for him. But you know, you look at Donnarumma just leapfrogged everyone in the best goalie in the world category over the Euros. And I mean, if that squad does not win Champions League, it is a failure. It's an absolute failure.
It also isn't, because you've talked about the squad. What is the biggest Achilles heel that PSG has had that none of the managers have really figured out how to handle over the last couple of years?
I've always said their problem is the fact that they can't compare week in, week out with the competition they have in Ligue 1 versus the teams that are playing in the Serie A, La Liga, or Premier League.
But when they have gone out of the Champions League as of late, they have gone out, right? Other than, you know, they've gone out and they have tended to go out in pretty spectacular fashion.
Absolutely.
And one of the reasons why is because there is a disconnect in that team. But Bayern exploited it perfectly. If you, that defense, those front three are not known, well, the front two on a good day, Mbappe and Neymar are not known as defensive forwards, as pressers. They're not known for their defensive skills, and they've always displayed a reluctance to go back. And that was a major problem for the last of Pep's Champions Leagues with Messi, was Messi's flat out refusal to try and contribute. He has, at certain extents later on in his career, tried to contribute on the defensive end, but that's not a player that he is. You know, you almost feel as though you can run a complete offside trap and just cut them off
Yeah, you can limit his ability to work in space by just not giving him any. Now, what I meant by saying it's a failure is I don't think it's a failure from a perspective of just like should they win, but just from the sheer amount of investment they put into that squad leads you to believe that they have to view this as a failure if they're unsuccessful. Now, I know that from their perspective, the amount of money that they're able to bring in and use is not going to be comparable to any other club, but still, from the perspective of a fan of the sport, especially someone who's kind of like a casual observer, you're going to look at this and go, okay, well, this team's been invested in and time out, and they have not been able to get the one trophy that they're trying to. And I will say it again, I will not pick this team to win until they prove me wrong. And I've never picked PSG, and they never fail to not to not fulfill my pick. And I'm going to do the same thing here because, as you said, though, there's also an issue with you have all these guys, they've never played together before. They haven't. And you have a lot of people who have great individual skill, but that doesn't always constitute a great team performance.
Even and then when you look at the players, with the exception of Hakimi and Donnarumma, and Wijnaldum and Ramos, even in Messi, you're bringing in guys who, while still good, have their best years are probably behind them.
Clearly behind them.
Now, the fact that we have talked about the exertions that
you could probably put Di Maria in that category. He's not spring chicken anymore either.
I mean, but what is it that they're going to have to play? What, 20 games a season that matter?
Yeah.
You know, you have the 6 in the group stage, and then another 4. So 10, 15, 16 games that matter to them. I
mean, what you probably got 8 league games that'll mean anything. You know, Lille will give you some competition. Monaco will be around. Marseille is always going to do something, but usually it falls apart. So it's
all about what the Champions League, so they can rest them, they can keep them out. But you know, you've got some guys in, you know, Neymar, who's got a really awful injury track record.
Right.
What is this going to mean for Mbappe? Is signing Messi basically a goodbye to Mbappe? Is he going to stay or is he going to go? What's he going to do? Because does he want to play in Messi's shadow? Does he want to win with him and then say goodbye? Are they saying, like, look, there's no way, we know we can't keep them? Because one thing that they have had a hard time doing is hanging on to players. You've had some departures. You know, Verratti was one who was all but gone. I don't know how they managed to keep him. Where is it going to go from here? How long are they going to hold this team together? Are they even going to try? And it just seems like this is one that in the 3 years is going to need some rebooting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could even say 2, but
I just think this is your 2-year cycle. You know, you got 2 years, Mauricio, and at the end of that 2-year deal with the option for 3, I mean, they could be like, hey, new coach, new manager, we're dumping all of these players with the exception of Hakimi.
You got a bunch of guys who are closer to our age than they are to 20.
And we'll see. But yes, that is done. So now we can move on and talk about other things that are not related to Lionel Messi. Yeah, Los, you want to talk about Messi, didn't you?
Oh, well, you know, I thought maybe he might be interested in coming over because one of his best buds happened to come over to play for Spurs over the summer, Christian Romero, but it wasn't enough. I think the call of the Farmers League, as you will, was too great. You're going to get a guaranteed championship for the year. You're going to get play in the Champions League, and it's not as physical as the EPL. So there you go. Trifecta.
He didn't want to try and do it on a cold night in Stoke.
No, he didn't.
The one thing Ronaldo can always say that Messi can't is he tried to do it on a cold night, winter's night in Stoke. Messi never even gave it. But Los, we don't really have, you know, as much as we want to spend the whole entire time talking about Messi, it's the most wonderful time of the year.
I don't want to talk about Messi.
Um,
Sorry, I'm the one who doesn't. He's already made his decision moving to PSG. Good luck to him and Poch and Mbappe and Neymar and all that. It's going to be a killer lineup. No other team in France has a chance. La Ligue, League One is going to be just forget about it. It's PSG, then everybody else. It'd be.
well, let's talk about your team.
Careful.
It's that time of the year where hope springs eternal on the lily white side of West London as Spurs try to
North London.
North London, son. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking. On the lily white side of North London in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as they take to the field for like the first time in that stadium with actual fans in it. And
No, they had fans for a while. Back before COVID, there was the sellout. What they put they all put the signs up in the end zone that said to dare is to do, spelled out. Remember, I had that as my background here. So yeah, they've had fans there before. They had fans there when Everton lost to Spurs, and they found out that Liverpool ended up losing the league that year, and it all boiled down to the fact that they tied at Everton, and so the Everton fans were cheering, "We lost the league at Goodison Park. We lost the league at Goodison Park." So, I mean, we've had fans there.
There you go.
We've had fans. So
what can on this most auspicious of occasions where everything's bright and shiny as we go into the season to a certain degree, what are your expectations for Spurs? They will win this year if there's a big if, and the big if is Harry Kane. That is the big if. Does Harry stay and play this year begrudgingly, or does he move on to Manchester City, as the rumors keep on saying? My understanding is, come on, guy, I can't do this. She's gonna tear up my jersey. I need to
get him, Elgato. Get him.
I need to clip her nails. What are you, an Arsenal fan? Get out of here. By the way, even though it was an exhibition, North London is now lily white. Just putting out there for you, Stead. Okay. So where was I? Oh yeah. As far as Man City is concerned, they are our first opponent this weekend. Coming up this Sunday, we play Man City at home. And the thing is, word is, there were two different things are coming out of the camp. One is Tottenham is working on a new contract extension with Harry Kane. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but that's talk. The other thing is Harry doesn't want to play this Sunday because he's anticipating a transfer to Man City. So he doesn't want to play against them this weekend. He wants to be held out. Well, you know what? They're paying your salary. You pay, you play. That's just how it goes. But we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. There's still a lot of time. It's only Tuesday. There's still a lot of time left this week. Anything can happen. So what do I expect for Spurs? It really depends. If Harry Kane is the Harry Kane that we're used to, and he stays with us, I really think we can be a top 4 club. We can. And here's why. First off, we needed to pick up a center back, and we needed to pick up someone to replace Harry should he happen to leave. Well, if he's not going to leave, there's no need to replace him. So that would be okay. That would be fine. Now, if he does leave, well, now that's a different story. I don't see top 4 if he goes. It really doesn't matter who we bring in. But rumors are, and you know how rumors are, but the rumors are going around that Spurs are looking at Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Dusan Vlahovic from Fiorentina. By the way, Fiorentina wants $46 million for that particular transfer. Ismail Assar from Watford, Dennis Zakaria from Mönchengladbach, and João Paulina from Sporting Lisbon are just some of the names that they're throwing out there. Now, and I don't think there's a single one of them that can replace Harry Kane. He's that guy. He's the golden child. He's the 1 in a million. Okay, not a one-hit wonder, but a 1 in a million. He's dynamic. He's a great player. He knows how to sniff out a goal. Now, Man City has been with their talks of the transfer fee of 160 million, which I don't know that Man City's looking to pony up that money or not. But they've also included bringing that number down and adding players such as Gabriel Jesus and Aymeric Laporte. But I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Jesus would be a nice addition up front, but he's not a Harry Kane. So that's why I guess the two guys and the cash would be something they would be looking at there. So it really, it's a big toss-up. Do we still have Kane or don't we? If we do, and he plays like he has played in the past and avoids injury, that's a biggie, because with Harry, you never know. He gets hurt a lot. But if he can avoid injury and play like he's played in the last couple of years, we could be top 4 with some of the changes we've made. So we'll see. If he doesn't play for Spurs, we're not going to be top 4.
What are your expectations for Uncle Nuno as he comes in? He wasn't necessarily the first choice, but
yeah, he was actually like I think it was like the 3rd choice, and then it was, oh no, he's out. We're not going to deal with him. And then all of a sudden, he became the choice again, like 5 coaches down the line. So whatever. I think the guy. I mean, I'll be honest. I was actually, I like Nuno. Okay, I liked him when he was the coach with Wolverhampton. I think more so because I just dig the Wolverhampton logo. It's just so geometric, and I'm a math guy, so I'm looking at triangles and pentagon and hexagons and it just, oh, this is great. This is a clean look, and I enjoyed the logo. I was happy to see them get promoted and into the Premier League. I just wanted to see Spurs beat them. So Nuno, though, is going to be, I think, a good addition for us, better than the Mourinho experiment. Probably, I hope he's as good as Poch with this crew. But Poch was a special guy. He was the special one, not Mourinho. So I'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, he's got the Holy Spirit, right? It's right in his name.
Mm-hmm. And he's gonna need it, especially if they don't have Harry Kane and they don't find a adequate replacement, for him before the end of the month. And tick, 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 Mr. Levy, it goes, he showed that he could do a lot with a little.
Yes.
But he's going to need some. Even he ran into not having enough that last season at Wolves. I think he's the right man for the job. I think he's the right man for a job, right? I hope that he gets a fair shake. You have tangentially said it, Los. I'll be very blatant about it and say, like, if they don't have Harry Kane for the whole entire season, I see the goals drying up. Nuno having to be very defensive, and it will be a battle to be in the top 8 to hang on to even like a Europa Conference League position potentially, right?
I hear what you're saying. I'm going to say it's not as dire. I think we can still compete and still be in the top half of the table for sure, and compete for the Europa League. But here's the thing. Harry Kane, when he was injured, Spurs were finding a way to win even when he wasn't playing. So it's possible we can do it without him. Now, can we get top 4 without him? I don't think so. But I would love to see it. if we can get top 4 without Harry Kane, wouldn't that be a story?
But I just don't want Nuno at the end of the day if the season fails because they let Kane go and Daniel Levy opts not to invest adequately in getting a replacement who is capable of filling that role, for Nuno to catch the blame and be the because it's always easier to fire a manager than it is to fire 40 players.
Yeah, it's true. But I don't know, if you take a look at the it's kind of amusing. I was taking a look at some of the transfers. I think it was which team was it I was looking at? I happened to take a look at their transfers over the off over the summer, and they got, it was one team, I can't remember, I think it was Atalanta, I'm not sure, but they got rid of as many players as they picked up. Oh no, it was from Italy. I can't remember. I was just doing some research and I saw there must have been about 30 names that were arriving and another 30 names are disappearing. I'm like, what, they're doing a wholesale change here? I mean, it was kind of amusing. I wish I could remember. I want to say it might have been Benfica. I think it was
Roma
Benfica.
is another one who's been rumored. Jose Mourinho has been rumored to have as many as like 23 players up for sale.
No core to build on. No core to build on.
You know, Sean nailed this to a certain extent when he talked about the fact that we knew it was going to be a different summer because of the COVID finances. Ergo, why we saw Leo Messi leave. I think that you were wrong in the number of expensive deal. Well, wait, no, there's only been the $100 million deal. 2, if you count the Lukaku deal, which gets up to 90. If you do it in euros, it's 100 million. If you do it in pounds, it's 97.
I'm not aware of the exchange rate currently, but go ahead.
You know, the finances have definitely been here. So, or been interesting. Well, Los, we want to thank you for coming on and joining us today and talking a little bit of Spurs and giving us your prediction of where they will win. I guess a successful season for you is if they hang on to Harry Kane.
That would be successful. And if they do hang on to Harry Kane and he plays like he has been known to play and stays healthy, then we're looking top 4. If anything falls apart there, we're not top 4. We could be in Europa. We might even miss out on that. Depends on how things go. But I think the addition of Christian Romero in the backfield is going to help. At center back, I think that's going to be a good addition for us. We lost Toby Alderweireld. Say that fast 5 times. He went to Qatar. He went to the Qatar League because I guess it's a lot of money to go and play over there. Well, it'll be interesting to see how that switch happens. And one other thing, and what's his name? Celtic Cam isn't on now, but maybe he'll see the show later. They picked up Joe Hart from us for $1.32 million on the transfer.
Probably went out and won a game.
Yeah, and here's the thing, Joe Hart, we got him on a free transfer like the year before as a backup keeper, and we made $1 million on the deal. So, and had a keeper for a couple games.
You know, $1 million here, $1 million there. That starts to add up to enough money that you can afford to pay Harry Kane to stay.
You know, if he wants to stay, we'd love to have him.
All right, Los, thanks a lot. And our
Guys,
best
take
to
care.
El Gato.
Oh, wait. Hey, before I go, Stead and Mike, we need to figure out who's in Division 1 on our predictions for EPL.
Are you going to flip the coin right now?
I got the coin right here. This is a Kennedy half dollar. There's Kennedy on one side and the Eagle on the other. Now I'm going to flip it and just catch it like this and just open my hand, and that's going to say who the winner is.
I'll let Stead call it.
Stead's going to call. Stead, you're going to call this one. Go ahead and call it.
Tails.
He called tails. It is a heads. That's Kennedy's head right there.
Yay! I was not relegated.
Mike is in Division 1. Stead, you're in Division 2 for the beginning of the season.
All right.
I got mine in.
Change at Christmas.
Could change at
Change at Christmas.
All right, Los.
All right, guys. Take care. See you later.
All right, Los. See ya.
And as we welcome in 2 new guests, like I said, we're pumping up the numbers today. London Sean, how goes it, sir?
Yeah, sorry, I had a few technical issues. I slept through my alarm clock, but here I am. I'm here. It is the middle of the night, so there we go. Very well, sir. Very excited.
Yeah,
So
and
3 days to go. 4 days to go, 3 days to go, something like that.
Yes, and that time of year where everybody is hopeful.
Yes.
So I'm going to let hopefully Larry.
So what was the position they said Spurs would finish?
Well, he said he didn't make a call because he wasn't sure whether or not they would finish in would keep Harry Kane. And so our next guest, Larry, the insurance guy, when he gets on, will give us some insight into the Man City view on this. But Los's certain view was, if they have Harry Kane, he thinks they can challenge for top 4. But if they don't, he says Europa League at best. And we are joined by our good friend, haven't spoken to him in a while, Larry, the insurance guy, Larry, the Man City fan. How goes it, my good friend?
How you doing,
I'm loving the beard.
Oh, yeah. You probably saw on Facebook. It was quite longer. I kind of had the COVID hair going. And I kind of remember that I was almost 40 years old, and my wife constantly reminding me of that. It really didn't last much longer.
Listen, I had a full beard and cornrows for a couple of months. So if you look back at some of the old shows, you'll see me with cornrows for a couple of months. My fro at one point just did not fit in Zoom block. It was spectacular. So
I like it up with the Zoom now. I like that.
Yeah. London Sean, Larry, London Sean. London Sean is one of our Arsenal fans. He's joining us from, well, the south coast of England, where it is 2 o'clock in the morning, my friend.
Thanks for staying up later.
No, you just woke up early. So, Larry, give us your thoughts on the defending champs as they go for their 4th Premier League title in the last 5 years.
Strong. They're always going to be strong under Pep and with that bankroll. And they're smart with their bankroll for the most part. They make decisions based on not just now, based on the future. I mean, it's kind of hard to bet against them whenever they've got that attack, and now they've got the defense to back it up. Stones kind of just reestablished himself over the last year, which I was happy to see. I thought he was on his way out and probably would have shown him the door myself with Laporte coming in and being strong, but he's kind of fallen out of Pep's favor just because of how strong Stones has been. I mean, Ruben Diaz, I think this is a big year for him. I think he can back it up, but at the same time, he's 23 years old. I don't know if I'm also, as you know, I'm not a delusional fan. I'm also kind of very realistic where it's tough to back up what he did again, and I'm hoping that he does, obviously, but that's a tough, being player of the year. That's a tough season to follow up. So, I mean, there's a lot of promise this year. I like the move for Grealish. I would have liked to have seen them secure Kane first. Just because of the surplus that they have. I hate to see someone like Bernardo Silva go, which he probably will, and he might be going over to Arsenal. He's just a hard worker, but they need that that out and out 9. I think the league's going to pick up on the false 9 that they've had, and this is a different year. I mean, Liverpool's got Van Dijk back, right? Man U boys picking up. Right. It's going to be a different year this year. It's not going to be, but what do we know?
If we get it right half the time, it's a success.
Yeah, exactly.
So, how important what's a successful season for Man City look like this year? Is it competing on 4 fronts? Is it winning the league? Is it winning the Man City Cup, also known as the Carabao Cup? Is it finally breaking that glass ceiling and Pep capturing the Champions League? What would be a successful season for Man City this year?
I think at least 2 trophies, and it's got to be either the Premier League or it's got to be a final of the Champions League again. I mean, you look at PSG now. I mean, and again, there are a whole bunch of players coming together. We'll see how well they work as a team, but I think that this could be their year for the Champions League. I'd say a successful season would have to be at least one domestic trophy and a final of the Champions League. I think they will be on all four fronts again. Pep usually has strong, sends out strong teams just because they're so deep. I mean, like you're not lacking whenever you've got Stefan in goal and you've got, Guduan and and Rodri in the center, Ake kind of cost him the Community Shield, but he's still a strong center back, and him and Laporte so it's they've got depth that they can make it deep into all four fronts.
How you brought up the false nine. How much, and I know Sean's going to follow up on this in a second. How important is it that they get the out nine, or can they still be successful with this false nine? Remember, Pep won a Champions League with a false nine, although that false nine was Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
And I love Kevin De Bruyne to death. I think he's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
He ain't Lionel Messi. I love Grealish to death. I think he's a fantastic player. He ain't Lionel Messi.
Nope.
Neither is Raheem Sterling, although he did his best Lionel Messi impression for England during the Euros, but he ain't Lionel Messi. It's doing an impression.
I'm actually kind of upset that he had the Euros that he had, because he was another one that I was ready to let go to say, you know what, he's a hell of a player, but his time in Man City is just it's over. But he kind of is bringing everybody back because of that Euro, that Euro run that he had. And we'll see if he follows it up in, whenever the Premier League does start this weekend. So, but to answer your question, I don't want to call it a gimmick, but it's something that it's like a new quarterback coming into the league. He usually blows people away their first year. They figure him out the second year, and then it's kind of tough from there. The league, for the most part, the successful teams have that out-and-out striker. You might be able to, with the talent that City has, they could be competitive with that false nine again, just because of the inner workings of Mahrez and Sterling and De Bruyne and Grealish up there and Foden whenever he's back. But to me, I'd like to see them go after that out and out nine, even if it would have been Tammy Abraham that they brought in. It's someone that I think, and he's a player that I think kind of got a raw deal out where he's, with Chelsea. And I think that he needs to move on from there, which it looks like he is. But it's someone that is going to take up that space. And you saw what Aguero did for all those years. Now, again, Aguero is a special breed, but at the same time, he's a presence in there and he's going to finish when he needs to.
London Sean, what did you want to talk about?
Two questions, really. The first is, where do you see Grealish fitting in? Because although he's a fantastic player, where do you see him fitting in the team? And secondly, do you think Harry Kane will be wearing blue and white this season?
Well, yeah, he's going to be wearing blue and white. Is he going to be wearing sky blue and white is the question.
Sky blue and white, yeah. Fair enough.
So for your first question, Grealish is going. They made it sound like, from the research that I was reading about, it was saying that he's going to start on the left side and in and out from the middle. But we see what Pep does. I mean, he moves. A handful of them: Sterling, Foden, Silva, Mahrez. Mahrez starts on the right. He's not there the whole game. So I think that Grealish, they made it sound like they want to make him feel comfortable, which is going to be on that left side, working in, kind of like what he did with the in the Community Shield. And then he could almost be that out and out, or I'm sorry, he could be that that attacking cam that's going to be there side by side with De Bruyne, or be up whenever Guduan or Rodri will be back. So they'll find a way, but it's kind of like you can't expect to play every game with Pep, no matter how talented you are. I mean, with injuries, we might see more of them. Unfortunately, Kevin De Bruyne hasn't been able to get through a year over the last couple of years, with escaping injury. Quite a few of their players seem to be, quite injury prone, whether it be for a little bit of time or extended, but he'll move around. He's talented. Once he gets the idea of how Pep's offense works, I see him more on the left and in the center, but he'll be all around. And then for your second question, I think that now I think a little bit more negotiating power is now in Levy's hands with the way that the Community Shield kind of showed they needed that, that extra out and out 9. We'll see what happens. I do believe he will be in Manchester City before the transfer window is over. I didn't think he was going to be playing this weekend. I don't know, but I think he is going to be playing now. I'm not sure. I don't know if the quarantine is worked out, if he's going to be playing or not. But I do believe, I know that he's made it very clear he wants to win trophies. And as much as I do appreciate Tottenham, they just can't put their pieces together, and I think they're slowly falling out of the top, the consistent top 4, top 5. So. But yeah, I do see Harry Kane wearing sky blue before the end of the transfer window, but I could be dead wrong on that.
Stead, you got any questions for Larry?
Actually, as someone who I've just now first time seeing, who I've heard about, I can say that as a Man City supporter, I could not agree more with what you've been saying about that squad. I really couldn't. Everything I was thinking of saying, I was like, well, he already said that too. And then especially the part about Sterling.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I've been a total mark for Sterling for a while. And I did see him start to falter as far as his stature at Manchester City, which I really didn't understand. Just because I'm an Arsenal fan and we'd love to have Sterling on our squad. But to see the way he played at the Euros, and I just respected the guy for how well he's handled himself amid the litany of crap he has to deal with on a daily basis. I don't know. I think if I were you, I'd hang on to him as long as possible, because I think he's just got some good vibes going on, and he just seems to.
I've been a strong defender of him, and again, just through like Facebook, it's just where it's people, as with all fans, they quickly forget about all the goals and timely goals that he had when they had that 19-game winning streak back in 18-19, and he has the talent. He's very talented, but he's a very head player. Like, you get in his head, then he kind of reverts back a little bit. But he is maturing, and all the stuff that, a lot of these players are putting up with, God bless them, because, they've just got so much other stuff on their mind that they got to really try to focus on soccer, and it's hard, and he's kind of doing it on both fronts. So I don't want him to go anywhere, but I know that he's one of those players that gets a lot of crap, from fans, and rightfully so, whenever he's missing, I mean, I have me and my son is a diehard Sterling fan. He was his number one player. He wanted to name his son Raheem, whenever he had his kids, and but he's even watched him, and he being a 9-year-old, he remembers those sitters that he's just, off the side of his foot. And he's just, so if he can cut that down, he could be a hero the way that he plays in a City uniform, but he can also be, quite the opposite as well.
Well, Pep certainly has the faith in him. I mean, he
does.
When he goes cold, he tends to I'm just going to roll with you. You're the guy. So I think I just hope that Sterling doesn't get used to that, because that's not going to last forever.
Right. Oh yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I wanted nothing more, because I know that Sterling wasn't really in their Champions League run last year. And it kind of came back to bite Pep, as he usually outsmarts himself during big games.
Which he clearly did during this past year Champions League as well.
He absolutely did. I mean, he decided to change it up again, and he went with Sterling. And I kept saying, like, no, he's going to come through. This is the one, like, this is where, and he came up small again. Now, granted, Chelsea played an amazing game, and it pains me to say that, but, it is what it is. So, but we'll see.
So actually, I have more faith in City to win a Champions League than I do PSG. So,
yeah, they've kind of been snake bitten for quite some time too. So I don't know. We'll see which one finally.
No, you should hear some of my rants on PSG.
Yes. Larry, most important question I got for you: are the Philadelphia Union going to get a result tomorrow in the CONCACAF Champions League?
I don't see how they can't. I mean, they're playing strong. I don't follow them as much as I want to, just because, for whatever reason, but they're a strong team. I mean, I feel like it's theirs to lose. You?
It's tough to go down to Mexico and play. I'd love to see them do it, but hey, Stranger Things
It's
says
tough, but at the same time, I feel like it. I don't know. I just got that feeling. You know what I mean? It's one of those things.
Hey.
I feel like they are.
we're gonna have to get you down here for a Manchester derby. I heard tell that the one on the 5th happens to coincide very, very nicely with somebody on this show's birthday. So that might be a good time to venture down here. But man, it's been great seeing you and great talking to you again. And we'll have you on back in a little bit to talk some more Man City as we go through.
Absolutely. No, I
All right.
appreciate you guys having me on.
No, we're really happy. You know, you'll get all of us sit around. We just dump on Man City, but it's good to actually have somebody who supports the
Of course.
squad and can
I'm
talk
a
about it
realistic
intelligently.
player. I'm a
And-
realistic fan. Too.
Yeah, no,
We're still we're
winning everything. I'm
Yeah.
not that.
And
but
the
don't
one
worry
thing
though,
is Larry's got broad shoulders. He can handle it when we run out of stuff to say on the show. And we're just all like, "Fuck City."
Yeah, but don't worry about it. I if I had to pick, everyone knows who I really hate. I hate Manchester United. So
Yep, I'm
Yeah,
right there.
Yep, we're all still
Gentlemen,
friends.
Larry, we're gonna get along. We'll be all right.
Have fun.
All right, Larry, good to see you, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.
Absolutely.
So, just like all of our,
I
just
like
like
him. He's good.
Oh yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
I used to work with Larry, and he kind of started following Man City out of spite for one of my coworkers because we were big Man United fans, so he became a City fan just to be contrarian. But he's really, I got to give him credit. When he became a fan, he learned everything that he could and watched everything he could about that team, and he really knows that team inside and out. It'd been a little bit hard to get a hold of him last year to get him on again, but he said he'd be around and he'd be able to do the show. So we got another, my goal was to get a City fan, so we got one, and we are complete now.
Yep.
Especially since we lost our Liverpool correspondents.
Yeah. I think that should be easier to line up though than a City fan.
Well, I tried.
Yeah.
I tried Liverpool supporters. So this was the 15 minutes that was dedicated to previewing Liverpool. I think that we can go ahead and preview Liverpool. But since none of us are Liverpool fans, this is going to be a very interesting preview of Liverpool. So let's have fun, because there was a miscommunication, I guess, with some people. I know that Rich, who was going to join us for the first time, had a power outage. Will has moved down to Hawaii, and El Haji just isn't available. So, we're short of Liverpool fans. So we can have fun with this. And true, too many guys, soccer. Let's go ahead and do this preview anyway with the 5 or 6 minutes that we have before Andy the Hammer gets here. So, London Sean.
Yes.
Liverpool will still suck because.
Well, they haven't signed anyone, so they've still got the same crappy squad that got them. What did they get? They scrambled into fourth last season. So my first big prediction: Liverpool will not finish in the top 4 this season. However, they have had quite a good little pre-season campaign game together. I'm just looking. I think they've pretty much won most of their games. They drew one against Athletic Club, but somehow I feel that magic, that Mane, Firmino, Salah magic is probably dissipating and waning a little bit. So I can't see them scoring as many goals as they did 2 years ago. And it is very difficult to get out of that habit of losing those games that you shouldn't lose, as Arsenal have found to their detriment for the last 5 seasons. So I think they're on the slide, Michael.
Instead, it seems to be a big ask to count so much of your title competition on a team that's 2 years older and down a key part in Gigi Wijnaldum. Milner's a year older. Well, actually, I think Milner's gone.
Oh, he's still there.
Okay. But
There's talk that Henderson is not signing.
Yeah.
but even that, like Henderson's a year older.
Mm-hmm.
Virgil van Dijk and it seems like a lot of it is pinned on, well, we got Virgil van Dijk back, and Joe Gomez is coming back, and Joe Matip's coming back. And we signed Ibrahim Konate from Leipzig to come in to stabilize the defense. I wonder if that's being a little bit blindly optimistic, because it is a ACL is about a 2-year injury. We've seen, while Van Dijk may physically be able to play, it is going to take another year for him to develop the sort of confidence in it, to put pressure on it, to get the flexibility, the full strength, the mobility back. And I have seen so many athletes come back from this. And yes, I know this isn't the old days where Dr. James Andrews was slicing open your knee and it would take you, 16 months to get back, but it's still about a 2-year injury when you look at the amount of time between the time the injury is suffered and when we look at somebody and say, okay, they are fully fit and back.
But just because you can play does not mean you're fully fit. Especially, we see that week in and week out, but post-surgery, post-major surgery, where it's like, yeah, you're probably going to be fine. But you have to remember, I don't know, I think all of us probably had a couple of knee surgeries. It does not feel like great. You have that, the mental side of it is crippling. It's crippling. And it's not even to say the mental side is incorrect. It's actually the reason why you're tentative is because it's not quite there yet. You got to really give it enough time to really heal. I don't think you'd be surprised if you see Van Dijk coming out of a lot of games at about 60 minutes. And then he'll get it up to maybe 65. And then, I think you'll see that a lot. He'll take every third game off. So I think what's surprising to me about Liverpool, though, is that's the only move they've made so far. Now, granted, we still have a lot of time left in the transfer window.
But you also don't hear about them being interested in just about anybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like
that's the part that's kind of making me not like shake my head, is because there's not even any transfer rumors about players coming in. And all you're hearing about it, at least as far as they're concerned, is like Jordan Henderson. And everyone's like, yeah, Jordan Henderson's not all that great anyway, so who cares? And, it seems like that's what you're getting a lot of it. And then, of course, James Milner, who, I think I could probably still do 1,000 push-ups, but can he keep up on a week-to-week basis? I don't know.
Their problem as much as anything last year, and I brought this up a number of times with Will and other Liverpool fans, during that run that they had that basically eliminated them from any sort of title contention, it wasn't necessarily that they were letting in goals, right? And I understand that everybody talked about the defense. We're starting with all of these people back there who are not, and we're taking everybody out of the defense, and we can't play Jordan Henderson, we can't play Naby Keita in the defense. Yeah, but they were losing. It wasn't like they were losing games 4-0. It wasn't even like they were losing games 4-3. They were losing lots and lots of 1-0.
1-0, yeah.
2-0, 2-1 games, right? It wasn't that they couldn't defend, they couldn't score. They could not score. And I wonder if they are being a little bit, it's a lot, right? And this, any preview you read has said, like, this is basically a team that needs a refresh, right? I have them finishing 4th. One of the main reasons why I have them finishing 4th is because I am not convinced by Leicester, Arsenal, or Spurs. And our next guest and the 3 people with us can yell at me for not being convinced by Arsenal. But I'm not convinced by Spurs. I don't think that they'll have Harry Kane. I don't think that Arsenal's quite there yet. And until Brendan Rodgers actually does it, I want to see him do it. So I think that almost I have Liverpool finishing 4th by default, but it's not the strongest endorsement. Before we move on and we get to Andy the Hammer and talk about what it's like to go into West Ham season with optimism, trepidation, and expectations, which I'm going to give them a minute to process this because that's a new one for them. Stead, finish this sentence for me, and then I'll go on to London and Sean. A good season for Liverpool is, and they finish where?
A good season for Liverpool is fourth, and I think they finish fourth. I do.
Sean, a good season for Liverpool is, and where do you have them finishing in the table?
Good season for Liverpool is having a long run in the Champions League, and they finish fifth.
Okay. Meanwhile, G has
Makes sense.
joined us, and he's doing his best impression of the Red Baron, except he's wearing blue, which is kind of awkward. So go ahead, G. Let us know what you really think right now.
I think Liverpool will be about fourth or fifth. I think some bigger dogs did a little more on the off season, and I'm just gonna leave it right there. So I'm not gonna give you guys my prediction yet because it's due tomorrow. So I'm gonna see if anyone can convince me to change up my order. But right now, I'm about 90% locked in, about fourth or fifth right now for Liverpool.
All right, so we are going to welcome in one of our favorite guests, Andy the Hammer, coming to deliver the good word on West Ham and what is it like to go in? You have this mix of expectation. You're in Europe. There's hope. There's optimism. But is there also this gnawing feeling in the pit of your stomach that, oh, this could all go south real quick?
That's the life of a West Ham fan. It's in other teams, but I feel like West Ham in particular, you have that dose of optimism, and you know deep down that the squad depth is a concern. You're adding a lot of matches with the Europa League, and how does this team kind of handle with the Premier League and kind of building on last season, which was a phenomenal season. So yeah, I'm optimistic. I'd love for something phenomenal to happen, like a run, and then finishing in the top 7, I guess, would be a phenomenal finish again. But I also kind of have this understanding that there's a possibility, almost a likelihood, that there's a step back. And it's yeah, optimism is definitely there, even if a little apprehension is under the water.
All right, so you brought up 2 things. They could struggle because of the squad depth. It does not look like the British Lionel Messi, Jesse Lingard, will be going to West Ham.
Yeah.
Season. How big a miss could that be? Because he was really instrumental in that late season run that kept you in those Europa League spaces.
He was, and that I think will be a large loss to not have him. But at the same time, I think the biggest winner of not having Jesse Lingard in the squad is going to be Said Benrahma, who was not really in the team very much with Jesse Lingard, and in preseason, friendlies, he has been just on fire, Benrahma. So I think you lose out on Lingard, and I think it'd be great if he was back at West Ham. But I think Benrahma has an opportunity to kind of step up into that role and be a really influential player. So I have, it's again that mix of that funny mix of like optimism and apprehension of, yeah, okay, the optimism is Benrahma could be a phenomenal player and kind of step up, and then the apprehension is, but Lingard was such a huge part of getting to this point. To not have him is a little bit daunting. But I have to believe, just for my own mental health, that Benrahma is going to make a big step up, and we'll see kind of who else kind of fills the gap. I mean, Pablo Fornals has been pretty solid toward the end of the last season and into the preseason friendly. So you feel like he takes a step, and you have to have some belief, just because I trust David Moyes and what he's building, but also just for you don't want to go into this pretty awesome campaign with too much dread, just because we want to enjoy it, because we don't get Europa League very frequently, if ever. So
how much do you think David Moyes will and can afford to focus on Europa League? And the second part of that question is, what does a good European campaign look like? for West Ham?
Yeah, well, good. I feel like getting out of the group stages would be good. Honestly, I feel like, kind of losing out a couple years ago with Slaven Bilic, West Ham was in the qualifiers, and it was terrible. It was kind of an embarrassment. If West Ham can win a couple matches, even like just get out of the group stages would be like great, awesome. We proved that we kind of belonged. Doesn't need to be a long run, whatever, but if we can kind of compete at that level, I think that shows a lot about what West Ham can do maybe in the future. But yeah, to the first question of how much can David Moyes really kind of focus on the Europa League compared to the Premier League or even some of the domestic cups, I think a lot of the focus is going to have to be on the Premier League, because that's where we're not going to win the Europa League. We kind of need to, if we're going to make this a sustainable thing where Europe is an every year thing, it's going to be on where we finish in the Premier League, probably 6th or 7th, I guess, with whatever the 7th gets potentially. That's going to be the focus. And I think if you look at the squad depth of West Ham, has one striker, like actual one senior striker on the roster with Mikel Antonio. And 3 years ago, he was playing right back. If you think about it, like he's not technically an out and out striker at the same time. So it's funny just I worry about, if he goes from a midweek Europa League match to playing a Saturday, Premier League, is he going to have his hamstring always has an injury every single year? What issues could crop up? So yeah, there is the underlying concern. I think maybe more of the focus will be on the Premier League, just because that is where maybe the longevity of being in the Europa League for years to come could be, if you could cement yourself as a top half team at the very least. That could be pretty big for West Ham, but it'd be big for a team that for a fan base that is always disgruntled at the ownership and doesn't always not the friendliest group sometimes to the owners, and even the squad on the pitch at sometimes. A good European campaign would be amazing. I think more of the focus is definitely going to be on Premier League, though.
It has been a relatively quiet summer. I mean, I understand the Alfonso Areola signing, shoring up the goalkeeper, perhaps even as much notable for the fact that not the incomings, but the fact that you've managed to retain Declan Rice to this point. You haven't had any key departures from last year's squad, but you also haven't had any additions. You spoke to the fact that there is only one striker in Mikel Antonio, who's a former converted right back. Do you see them doing any more business before the end of the month and the end of the window?
Yeah, I do see more business. I think it'd be crazy to think this is the squad that's going to be it for the season. Sky Sports and others are reporting, I think Milinkovic, the center back, is the Serbian is close, whatever close means. I mean, that could be another addition that I think, soaring up the defense could be good. It could be prudent. One injury can kind of throw that into some drama back there. So that will be important. You mentioned Declan Rice. Keeping him is a gigantic boost for the squad. You have a center mid of Thomas Souček and Declan Rice is great. It's not one of the best in the league, but it's a very good partnership that can kind of direct this team to top half play. I do worry, like you look at one step behind them though, if there's one injury to one of those players, you're relying on Mark Noble playing considerable minutes, and I love Mark Noble, favorite player of all time. But I think that it's not realistic to imagine him playing starting minutes if he's required to. You have players coming up like Connor Coventry. I rate them highly as a youth player, and I think they have a definite role in this team. But again, there's not really that experienced option besides Mark Noble, and I don't know how much I trust him just in a full-time role if disaster strikes. So there was concern, and I think I believe that Martin Braithwaite has been linked to West Ham, although he wants Spurs more than West Ham. Whatever shakes out, with that. But I think getting another striker in could be good. Otherwise, we're gonna have to we're gonna have to rely on some youth players, and I don't necessarily mind that that much, but it's also daunting, to be in one of a pretty pivotal season to kind of last season, great finish, to kind of rely on some youth players that haven't been on the stage before. But I mean, they have to start somewhere, and maybe this is where.
Would you consider taking Eddie Nketiah if he became available?
Yeah, I think I'd consider almost anybody that's available.
I'll make a call. Don't worry.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Hey, Odison Edouard wants to get out of Celtic, apparently.
Oh yeah, he does as well.
There's another one. There are a few strikers around.
Yeah.
What you got?
Yeah, so what's the over/under by Christmas time that Moyes will be sacked? When do you think that he'll finally get the old hook?
I call me delusional. Totally fine. I think maybe I have some Clarendon blue glasses on here, but I don't think he's going to get sacked. I think I really believe in kind of what he's doing. This was a redemption for him. He came from, nobody believed him after United. He was not great in Spain, came back, and now he's kind of proving himself again as a quality manager for a club like Everton that's trying to push in and kind of make themselves a hovering around the top six, if not, an annual top six contender. I believe in him. I really do. I think he's a prudent, just with I know Sean has mentioned multiple times, just with the, the work ethic that he kind of expects from his players and instills, and you see it. I love, how much they run during matches, and how the stamina it seems to be there to the 90th minute. That was my biggest critique of Pellegrini, was it just seemed like they ran out of gas by the 85th, and West Ham constantly gave up late goals. This, he seems like just the commitment and buy-in is there. So yeah, I believe in David Moyes, and you can replay this. I 100% acknowledge, like, you can replay this on December 25th when we are signing Sam Allardyce to, we're in 17th in the Premier League. Like, I will eat these words, and that's okay. But I believe David. I think he's a pretty good manager.
Do you think that West Ham got a good balance between old vets and the new guys, and Moyes is just a real good coach to his experience to kind of really blend them together to have a successful season?
I do, yeah. I mean, just the mix of kind of the old and new. I mean, you can't get more, with Mark Noble being a big part of the side still, as a great kind of transition player to kind of bring in some of these young guys. He has an old quality to him, and just how he wants to manage the side, but he's doing it with some exciting attacking talent like Paulo Fernandes and Saïd Benrahma, bringing them into the side. You look at those young guys and you're like, okay, there's some attacking quality in this team. It's not just, we're not parking the bus here. I mean, we're actually attacking, and we're making a go of it. I really like, how this team looks, and it's almost terrifying to hear myself say that on August 10th, because it's like, this could blow up. And I remember last season when, West Ham opened the season with a loss to Newcastle. I think it was the same opener that we're facing this year. I'm pretty sure we lost to them on the opening day, and it was like a slap in the face, like, holy fright, okay, this is not going to be as easy as we thought it was going to be. But he figured it out. I really think that you give him time. We have some, we didn't really sign many players, but the players that we have, we kept. Really, we only lost Balbuena. We lost Lingard, which is a huge loss, admittedly. Besides that, I can't really think of another player we lost. I might be blanking on somebody pretty obvious, but we kept the squad together. I think that's the biggest thing. So
did I not read somewhere, Andy, that there was talk of a consortium making an offer for the club, and someone had said that if you added the wealth of the individuals involved, you'd be the fourth richest club in the world or something?
Yeah, I did see that. I don't pretend to know that much about it. And I don't really think there's the probability of that actually happening, I don't think is incredibly high. West Ham is one of those clubs that is going to always be linked to those type of things because outside investors will look at, okay, there's the Olympic Stadium, they're in London, they're already in the Premier League, they don't have to do a huge rebuild. There's a lot going for West Ham. There's a lot there. If the owners decide to sell is a different story. If they can't sell because they have a commitment because of the London stadium, the Olympic Stadium deal that they can't sell immediately, they have to wait. I'm blanking on the exact amount of time, but they have to wait for a period of time before they sell. So it couldn't just be a quick, cash grab. So I don't think that has that much legs, to be honest with you, but it would be interesting. I mean, but at the same time, like in as weird a way as it sounds, I feel like I would lose a little if West Ham became another one of those corporate clubs, which we basically are already. I mean, every Premier League club is, but I feel like if it went the Manchester City way, I'd lose a little bit of love for what it is. I almost enjoy the fact that, it's an underdog mentality and it's almost there's a lot of good banter because it's always a mess. And that's fun. That's kind of fun to be a part of. And so I don't know if I'd want to be and just an influx of cash that suddenly brings us, the best players in the world, which would, okay, it's interesting enough and that would be fun, but I don't think it's realistic. And I would lose a little bit of the quality that West Ham is, kind of the bridesmaid to the other big London clubs. And when you knock off a Tottenham, when you knock off an Arsenal, that feels great. And I think you would lose a little bit of the luster if suddenly we were splashing 100 million on a bench warmer like Man City just did. Not a bench warmer, but
shots fired.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's off topic, but I don't think Grealish is going to make as big of a role as other people might think.
Yeah, we will see as that goes.
But if it makes you feel good, Andy, all of us on our picks have West Ham, not being relegated. So whatever's in the club right now is looking good. So you guys will survive another year. So even though you have a new influx of people, you don't have really big signings. We all think your guys are good. So Hammers will be still around for the next year, man.
That's good. I appreciate you guys believing. I think it's funny because this time last year I was on a different podcast and when people asked me the teams that I thought was going to be relegated, and I truly thought West Ham might be relegated.
I didn't think that you guys were going to finish in the Euro as high as you did. But
I did not think that was crazy.
14, 15, 16, 13, 14, 15, sort of in that Crystal Palace range where they tend to finish was a good season. It's going to be interesting, as you said, to see how Moyes, but Moyes has experience balancing European campaigns. The success with which he has done it has been varied at best. I mean, he did get United out of the group stages. He did negotiate that last 16 tie with Olympiacos before getting shelled by Bayern Munich. The Everton teams tended to a little bit underperform in Europa League when they got there, and definitely in Champions League when they showed up there. So, but he has had experience doing that. All right, Andy, we want to thank you for joining us this evening, and we'll get you back on as the season goes on to keep track of the happenings in West London with the Hammers.
East London, thank you.
East London, just all over the place today.
Yeah, no, totally good. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. So, Sean, and
you do know that if ever you invited David to join our pod, he wouldn't come along. He would refuse to join us. You do know that.
Why?
Well, because you're mispronouncing his name. You're calling him Moyes.
Moyes.
No, but you say Moyes. It is Moyes. You're right.
All right. I will. At least I don't call him David.
No, true. You don't.
At least I don't try and go with the French.
Yeah.
I will get better at pronouncing these people's names. Yes. I'm sorry I did not. All right. G, Sean, and to a certain extent, Stead, who has temporarily stepped out, but I'm sure will join us because it's like that dog whistle.
Oh my
It's
God,
time-
are we in the death period now, are we?
Yes, we are. It is time to preview Arsenal. So, gentlemen, it was not good last year. Sean, you have said that was just about as bad a season as you have ever witnessed in your entire time watching Arsenal.
Yes.
So I'll start with this. What Arsenal this season, what is a good season for Arsenal?
As much as last season was terrible, and eighth is really not what we've been accustomed to after 22 years of Arsenal, and even Unai did better than that in his short period in charge. So I think what Arsenal fans haven't realised was the complete and utter mismanagement over the last 20 years in terms of transfers, contracts, and we ended up with a bunch of people that we didn't want. And now we're suffering from trying to get rid of all those people. And obviously in this economic climate, it's not proving easy. So I was very happy that we grabbed that 25 or 20 million or however much we got for Willock, but we can't seem to get rid of any of the others. And it's going to take time to churn over this current squad. However, if you split last season in half, and you look at our last 19 results compared to everyone else, we would have actually finished second in the table. So you could argue that there was momentum in the second half of the season, and I think what we're all hoping is that we can carry that momentum forward. We've re-signed our top young players, and that was very key, because if Grealish is worth 100 million, then Saka's going to be worth about 200 million eventually when he gets some more experience under his belt. So, in answer to your question, I still have faith in Mikel getting it right. I think in the same way that Lowe's was saying that if they lose Kane, they were looking at sort of slightly further mid-table. If we sign Odegaard, I can see us squeezing in to, if Liverpool finish fifth, we will either finish fourth or sixth. There is the answer to your question.
All right, G, give me your thoughts, buddy. What do you think is a good season?
Fourth is a very high place on the table. I'm thinking around sixth or seventh. Again, I'm not really locked in right now. It just seems like the other teams that have been putting more effort in the offseason to get the pieces that they are missing. We kind of kept our core, so that could be good, that could be bad. But looking at the other teams right around us last year, it seems like we are the most stable. And I think right there is going to give us that couple extra 10 points at the very beginning of the season that will get us up there a little bit more. I don't think we're going to finish lower than 7, let's say. I think with the core people that we have Arteta's style. They understand the style. Like Sean said, we got rid of a lot of the dead waste now. So that is that off-season kind of mixture of cleaning up and getting brand new. It's here now. So let's see what Arteta does. Let's see what he does with the people without any kind of distractions throughout the entire season. But I really think we have, I think the record is 22, 8, and 8 is what I think. I think we had the third best defense. The only issue is that we cannot score. So hopefully, again, Pepe will come around. He's getting a crap ton of money. It's time to produce right now. So I have hopes for us. I always have hopes. I don't think we'll have the disaster that we did last year. But I think we're slowly kind of coming together. We saw Arteta and his style that he can possibly do. Like, well, just real quick. There we go. I think they're going to understand his style, and it's going to work better for us. We have a bunch of young studs. It seemed like they were gelling at the end, like Sean said, about halfway through. We had the second best record. So that's momentum leading us into this season. We don't have any European tournament, so we should be fresher than fresh. We're all the top teams. We're playing about another, let's say, 10 extra games. It's going to be wear and tear on the bodies, and I don't care. We just had Euros, and most of those guys did play. So we have a little bit more advantage to rest our players. They're maybe played in their national teams for World Cup, but we're looking pretty good in the longevity of our this year. Now, next year, I think if we can't get into that 6th place, we'll go into Euros at a whole new game. But as of right now, I think we're looking good just because we have that little bit of freshness to us. We have the freshness throughout the season. So when most of the teams are playing the Euros, we're going to be resting. We're going to be, icy. We're going to do the ice baths and all that stuff. So I have better hopes than we did last year. Now, with Tottenham, of course, our rivals, the whole Harry Kane thing, I think it's going to be blown up in their face sooner or later. I think that they're not going to feel as a team going into this season. So I think they're going to be in disarray. So I think, like Lo said, whatever Kane's going to happen, but I think they're going to be about mid-table, maybe 9th, maybe 10th. But I think this year it's going to be Arsenal finally above them in the table, so we can celebrate at the end of the year when we actually we beat them. So the only thing that's going against Tottenham as well is their ugly uniforms. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. There's a great podcast, Too Many Soccer Guys. They have the Ugly Kid Show. Check it out. But it's one of those things that they had an ugly kid, so it actually might go against them as well. So again, I think Arsenal has high hopes. We need another maybe center mid, attacking center mid. Definitely a guy who can go to box and just be that Odegaard. But he's out there. Hopefully we send them before August, but definitely, hopefully, whatever pieces that we need, we'll get them in the winter time.
So, G, you said you think that they can go 28, 8, and 8, which would be 74 points. They've broken the 70-point barrier once since Arsene left. That was Unai's first year, where they got right on there. And that would mean you could turn 5 losses from last year into draws or wins. Most of them wins because of that's
Agreed. And a lot of the games we were in too, and if we get 1 point here and 1 point there, turn it to now 3 points, like you said, those kind of add up. And we had very close misses and close losses. Sometimes I think 1 or 2 games we were leading and we lost. So right there we lost 6 points, 9 points. This stuff adds up. But with the experience this year and the healthiness, I don't think we're going to have those issues. I do think we're going to have 74 points. Now, I think the other teams who are above them are just going to really just gang up on the lower tier teams. I think to go 2-0 against, sorry, Andy, but West Ham, Brentford, Burnley, all those lower, we're going to go 2-0. So it's really going to have a huge division between huge amounts of, in the 90s, 80s, 70s, but then the lower teams, they're going to be struggling. And I think it's going to be a fight at the end of the year for a lot of those lower teams to stay up. But I think right now I have all the B teams. So I have Burnley, Brentford, and Brighton to be relegated. I just don't see them doing any damage. So I think Arsenal will gang up on those teams, get the 6 points, and move on all healthy.
So, Sean, going back to this kind of, you will be happy at the end of the season if what happens?
If we finish 4th, extremely happy. Yeah. I don't quite agree with G's maths. Sorry, did he say 20? What did he say? 28, 8?
No, he said 22, 8, and 8.
22, 8, and 8. Okay.
Which equates to 74 points.
I heard 28, which is why I thought that was like
No.
80 something points. You're absolutely right in what you said in terms of points. That's the way I've looked at our season. I think we can get 10 more points than we did last year, which would take us up to 71. And I do think that Chelsea, Man City, and United are going to take the bulk of the points between them this season. They'll lose points amongst each other, obviously, but I think they will dominate. So in the same way that the league was it 98, 97 points 2 years ago?
2 years ago, it was I think it was 99 or 98 for Liverpool. I
mean, both of them got 90. I can see 3 teams getting in the high 80s this season.
So 3 years ago was 1920. Liverpool had 99, but City had 81, and then there was a drop off to Man United and Chelsea, who were in the 60s.
Yeah, I think it's the season just before that one I'm making reference to.
Okay, so that would be 18-19. 98 and 97 won. And then you had, again, 25 points in between Liverpool in second with 97 points, and then Chelsea with 72, Tottenham with 71, Arsenal with 70, and United with 66.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if that's what you're saying, and it is 74 points to get into the top 4 or 5,
Yeah.
that's going to be interesting. Now,
Yeah.
I can see where we would say, because there have been a lot more outgoings from some of the lower league teams, some of the lower teams, than there have been incomings, right? When we look at what a team like Southampton has lost, what we talked about West Ham and picking up Areola as being their only significant move. Yeah, Everton has lost more than they've gained. And all the lower part half the table. Leicester is one really has not added. What are Villa going to do without Grealish? And I am not one who has seen much anything come into Villa with Grealish leaving. There could be a fair amount of separation between. You could have.
Mike, you don't think, Emiliano Buendia was player of the year in the championship. They brought in Danny Ings. They brought on Leon Bailey. I think for Villa, it's addition by subtraction. I think their league position is going to be better this year.
I think they need to, I've never been convinced too much by Danny Ings. I think he's streaky at best. I think he gets hot, he knocks in goals for a bunch of games, and then he can go cold. And a lot of times, like, he'll get you 3 goals in a game that you win 5-1, but then in a game where you need him to score, he can go missing.
Well, he doesn't need to carry the whole load there, like he did down in Southampton. They've got Ollie Watkins there too, who had a good start last year.
It'll be what, is Dean Smith as good as we think he might be, right? But still, even if you say Aston Villa will finish better off than they did last year, I think you've still got an upper half of the table and a lower half of the table. And there's going to be some massive separation in there. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard the dulcet tones of Chelsea Mike as he came to join us to give us his preview on his defending European champion Blues.
Well, take the defending European champions and add Romelu Lukaku. Things are looking up in Chelsea. Not only that, I think that sort of core young group of talent, which has come of age, Mason Mount had a killer year last year, player of the year for Chelsea. He's a year older, a year more experienced, has done, big things in big tournaments. And we see that too with Havertz, Pulisic. I think that the development of the players who they already had made Chelsea a very formidable contender for a league title. But you adding in Romelu Lukaku, having a true number 9, it just seems to be the missing piece at Chelsea.
Wasn't that what you were supposed to have in Timo Werner?
Yeah, Timo is definitely a winger. As much as he doesn't want to be or admit it, or as much as the game plans have not called for him to be a winger, because all they have is wingers. They don't have a true number 9. Tammy Abraham was supposed to be that person. And up until Jorginho nailed a PK late in the year, Tammy Abraham was still the leading goal scorer of Chelsea last year. Definitely under Lampard, they were built for a true 9. But Tuchel, his system, it's just it's a big shining hole. Like, what did they need to do? And now they got Romelu Lukaku. Although that's, not officially announced, everything, but pretty much all the press is
It's a
concluded
lot of money for Romelu Lukaku.
for a guy who we sold away years ago
Twice.
at a profit.
Twice.
Yeah.
You've had him twice and let him go. Right. Year 2 seems to be in his past the year that the wheels start to come off for Thomas Tuchel. We saw that very clearly with Borussia Dortmund. We saw that very clearly with PSG. Right? And he has been relatively quiet. And he hasn't even actually done a full year yet. So I don't know if we can say it's like year 2. Maybe we have to get through this year. And then in the beginning of next year will be like the second year.
I mean, I agree with you. I think he just came in, they won Europe. It was just like such a rush towards a honeymoon. I don't think let's face it, year 2 is not a great year to be a Chelsea manager either. Because almost no one has made it past year 2.
So I guess that's the question. Year 2, the expectations are going to be higher. You went out, you invested all of that money in picking up Havertz and Werner and a couple other players last year. Now you've spent, let's call it 100 million euros, $100 million. I know what the fee is like, 97.5 in pounds to get Lukaku. What are the what are the expectations for this season?
I don't really, aside from last year where I thought, maybe they'll give Frank Lampard leverage. They didn't. Or not leverage. I mean, give him some leeway to fail and develop young players. And Tuchel paid off. They won the Champions League. The expectations at Chelsea are always to strongly compete in Europe, semifinals. They're to win the league, and they're to win the FA Cup. That's what the brass at Chelsea wants, and I think that the fans agree with that. If we don't get silverware, major silverware this year, you're thinking double, triple.
So it's almost, if he doesn't come home with a double this year, this season was a failure.
Yeah.
I mean, those are like FIFA expectations, the ones where, when you sign up for manager mode on FIFA and they give you your board expectations, it's like win the Premier League, win the domestic cup. So your expectation for me to keep my job is that I've got to win the treble, which one other team in all of England has ever, in reality, has ever accomplished. I mean, you can do it in FIFA really easily. So, winning a double, coming home with 2 pieces of major European trophy silverware, following up a European championship with a European with another run at a Premier League, FA Cup, Champions League. If those are the expectations, do you think that Tuchel can deliver?
I do. And here's the biggest reason why. Because Pep Guardiola just can't beat him. Pep just can't beat Thomas Tuchel. And if your biggest contender for the title just can't beat you, I mean, that's going to be great on you. I'm actually slightly more scared of Liverpool. I think putting Van Dijk back there and getting their whole defense back.
Yeah, but you're not dealing with Van Dijk pre-ACL. You're dealing with Van Dijk a year after he's got an ACL. You know as well as I do that it's going to take at least 3/4 of a season for him to resemble the player that he used to. And that's not casting aspersions on him. I'm sure Virgil van Dijk is a great athlete. It's just that when you do something like that to the human body, it takes time to recover, to gain that mobility, the flexibility, the physicality, and the mental aspect of trusting that body part, which has essentially been re-engineered to work the way that it needs to.
Yeah,
And
the same's happened to Hector Bellerin. He's never been the same player.
Nemanja
Yeah.
Vidic took forever and never really fully came back. I can go up and down the leagues in the NFL when we look at guys who have had ACLs, and they can be effective and they can be great, but how long it's taken them to come back to be that player, or pitchers in Major League Baseball, it's essentially the same thing when you get the Tommy John surgery, except you're not replacing a ligament in your knee, you're replacing one in your elbow. How long it takes them to come back. It's a calendar year. It's a calendar year plus type of injury. And he's coming back about 8 months, 9 months after that happened. I think the thought of Virgil van Dijk to start the season is going to be better than the product. Now, I could very, 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 very well be wrong. And I actually hope to a certain extent that I am.
Yeah.
I think you're right about, the situation though with Tuchel and Pep is not unique, right?
Right.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has a winning record against Pep. He has won. He has won way more than he has lost against Pep in a variety of situations. I think that's just something about Pep in the league.
I think, yeah, Pep has been better than most, especially Chelsea, especially at taking care of those games that you're supposed to. If there's 6 teams who you're going to draw or potentially lose against, you've got to beat those other 12 teams. And that's when City were hot last year. Even a West Ham team that was very good, they were not feared. Like, City was just steamrolling. And I think that they could still be that good. I don't know if Jack Grealish is a great addition for them. He's obviously a great player. I just feel like Jack Grealish wants the spotlight too much for playing at City. I just think, being sort of a role player, which is he's not going to be. I mean, they're going to give him latitude to go where he wants, but I don't really know that was the best situation for Jack Grealish. But anyway, that said, I mean, if you want to talk about like weaknesses of Chelsea, I think that they could still do better in the back. I know that Tuchel, it's been reported, really wants Jules Koundé from Sevilla, which, again, I think that would make them better, deeper. But I do think that their defense, that the way they have it now, is also adequate for playing in the league. You do have to, Thiago Silva is in his late 30s. I think he's going to be 38 this year. He's going to have to be managed. Like, you're not running him out for a League Cup game, but you hope he'll still be there, because when he was playing last year, he was still Thiago Silva. I would, the defense could be a weakness for them. Other than that, it's like, is Mateo Kovacic good enough? And he's very good as a sort of backup midfielder. Those are the questions you're asking themselves, because they're so overloaded with talent. Hopefully Lukaku doesn't throw off a balance.
They're overloaded with talents at the wings. There's some holes in other places, and you just feel like the whole entire thing, if they don't sign Koundé, is the type of thing that tends to throw Tuchel off the back. So, all right, Mike, we want to thank you for coming on and joining us, and you'll be back, so I don't even need to do that.
I do. UEFA, the Super Cup is tomorrow. Watch it. Probably forgot.
So
I predict that we will beat Villarreal.
Okay, have fun with that. So thanks a lot, Mike, for joining us. And we're about to bring in somebody making his reemergence on the podcast after several months off, to welcome in the newest member of the podcast family. Welcome back, Coach Matt. Yay!
What's up, guys? How you doing? Been a long time.
He's back. He's back. Better than ever. Twice as ugly.
Yeah, probably. Yep. That's where I'm at.
How is dear Sienna doing?
She's good. She's doing well. We're settling in. She's kind of sleeping right now, but hopefully that remains to stay the same. But yeah, it's a lot. You know, kids are a lot, but I love every minute of it. It's just tough, but I'm back. I'm happy. That's all that matters now. I'm back here.
Yeah,
pumped to talk about United. It's good.
Yes, it has definitely been since before the summer. So we didn't even get to have your expertise as we went through all the haps for the summer leagues or the summer tournaments and everything. But, you know, Matt, it's our chance. I gave Sean and G their time to talk about Arsenal. It's nice to have you back because now I don't have to do this Man United preview again by myself. So, a good season for United this season looks like what?
If you're asking what I think we can do, I think that
I'm asking literally, you're happy at the end of the season if we
at the bare minimum, we definitely need to win a trophy. If it's minor trophies, I'd actually say that I think we need to win FA and League Cup. And we need to be challenging for the title and not like last year where it was especially towards the end where we were just kind of delaying the inevitable with City. It's, you know, up until the last, you know, week, maybe at most like the third week, we are, you know, we can legitimately win the title. We should. There's just no excuse in my book for us to not be even better than last year.
I don't know whether it's the pessimist or the realist in me. I think that we may accumulate more points than last season, but I could see us finishing third in the league as opposed to second. Such is the strength of a Chelsea and a Man City right now, that even with the addition of Jadon Sancho and Rafael Varane, I don't think that's enough to sustain a complete title challenge for the whole entire year. I think, and one of the big things that I think will come eventually unglued is the contract situation for Paul Pogba. The longer that draws on without a resolution one way or the other, the more problematic it's going to be. You know, does this formational change work? Do we make the addition that we need of another defensive midfielder? I'm not even like, I could deal without the additional right back. I think give Brendan Williams a shot. But which goes to the other point is, I think that the focus is going to be a lot more on trying to win trophies. I think that there's going to be two things that are going to be big for Ole this season. One is to win a trophy. semifinals, finals, win, right? Be it
Mhm.
an FA Cup, be it a League Cup, winning a trophy, and getting out of the group stages of the Champions League,
Yeah.
right? So I think that he's going to have to do those, and it may be at the expense of some games in the league. So where Sean and G both gave themselves an Arsenal, you guys both were willing to say, like, I see a 10-point bump. I will be satisfied if I will be happy if United finish on 80 points, which will be 6 higher than last year with a trophy. That to me is a successful season, but a successful season also looks like harmony and a resolution to some of these looming issues, right? Can we demonstrate that we can actually get deals completed when we need to, rather than waiting for the last minute? Like, you understand, United still hasn't actually announced Rafael Varane.
Oh, I know. It's been a mess, but yeah. I mean,
It's like the most United thing ever. We have signed this guy for a month. We can't announce him, and then he's going to end up going to Arsenal.
it was this. Oh God. It's the same thing though, just like with our players in general though, right? Like it's like it took us forever with Sancho. Like
they negotiated that deal for 2 years.
I know, and then it took us forever to announce him. But then also things are weird too with no one really knew if Varane was going to have to quarantine, and he ended up having to do a 5-day quarantine despite being double jabbed. And then also too, like Cavani isn't training with the team. He's like, and I actually reached out to a reporter who covers United closely. His name's Simon Peach. He's a really trusted reporter, and I asked him I talked to him on DMs with Instagram, and he was like, yeah, no one really knows like what's going on. And he said just overall in terms of the reporters, they just really have felt that this preseason has been extremely odd with United, just in general. Just the way that they've announced things, the way they've even interacted with the press has just been very weird. He's like, I don't really know why that is, but there's just a lot of question marks in terms of what's been going on. We've definitely been keeping things a lot closer to the chest, I think.
I also think some things have been random, as opposed to, some players have been given additional time, the appearance of giving additional time off, announcements not being made, when are players coming back? Certain players have started training before others have started training. It's definitely been a little bit of an odd one. Now, we have a big game to start with Leeds. The season develops nicely for us, where we can get runs of points and win. Ole is going to need to avoid those streaks where he goes like a month without winning anything.
Yeah. I mean, he even said it too, though. He said I think it might have been his first press conference, like right before the first preseason game, he said that we can't have a slow start like we had last year, where it was like 7 points in 7 games or something like that. He just said that that's not acceptable. So it will be interesting to see if he really kind of comes out guns a-blazing early on. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm really excited. I don't know why. I haven't given you guys my predictions, but I have actually United winning the league, and it's not close. Like, I actually think United, like, this is my random prediction. And Sean's like, yes, great. He probably is like laughing right now because he thinks it's definitely not going to happen. But remember, my long-term predictions are good. I think United wins the league.
Yes.
Yeah, Sean's like, oh, sweet, bet the opposite.
All I've got to say, Bolivia.
Yeah, hey,
Bolivia.
Man, listen.
Bolivia.
Their goalkeeper made the team of the tournament, so let's go.
Bolivia. I tried to tell y'all Sean, I tried to tell you that Bolivia was a dumb bet. If you went out and laid any money on Bolivia off the strength of Coach Matt and Peter telling you to lay money on Bolivia, then you got what you deserve.
Listen, every advanced stat talked about how Bolivia was the unluckiest team of the entire tournament. So I will say
Yeah, but
Bolivia
that-
played way better than they were actually like the
Yeah,
results
but advanced stats don't make you money in betting.
I know, but
That
they
won't
should
make
have
you
won,
rich.
and they're getting better. Like, look, I not to go back to it too much, but they're as someone who's watched Bolivia for years, no one else has.
I would have
They
defended you
are
on the
way better.
I would
way
defend
better.
you on the
What-
MLS.
Matt,
because
what odds
nobody
would you
actually-
give? What odds would you give Man U to win the league this season? What odds would you
Odds?
give?
Well, I'm not a great odds guy. So I don't really know how it really works. I'm not really good at the betting thing. Like I said, I'm a dad.
Yeah, I wouldn't take his predictions by any means. If you got money on the line, maybe Coach Matt's probably not the best person to ask.
Yeah, but again, I think I came in second or third for the season predictions. So like last year, I
Hey,
think
you definitely weren't in the you weren't in the relegation zones like Stead and I were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stead got relegated.
So over
I,
here in the
I
UK,
lost the coin toss, so I'm relegated.
What does that even mean? What do we do?
all I'm saying to you is over here in the UK, you're currently just over 8.5 to 1 to win the league.
Actually,
Fourth favourite.
That's pretty good. Put your money down. on it.
That's
actually solid. Sounds good.
not. It sounds good. I think it sounds really, really good. But if I'm guessing, Chelsea, United, or probably in this order: City, Chelsea, United, then Liverpool.
Yeah, see, I'm just
have
not
the shortest odds.
I think
City,
I'm
Chelsea, Liverpool, United.
What? City, Chelsea, Liverpool, United.
Liverpool, United.
See,
You know what?
I think that a lot of people, I didn't get to talk with Mike being on, but I might be completely wrong with this, and I probably am, but I really do think that people are just like blanketing over some of the things with Chelsea, like the struggles they had last year. Like, yes, they went on a good run, but I don't know, maybe it's just because I remember Chelsea fans just really being the ones to hawk on about, Ole, he's not really even a good manager. It's just the new manager bump. And it's like, well, who's to say that's not true about Tuchel? And also their defense is just extremely injury prone. Like they have Thiago Silva, who he pulls a hamstring, I feel like every 4 weeks. And then like Rudiger is very injury prone. I mean, heck, half the season he walked around with a mask on. Aspie's not that bad, but Christensen's always got injuries. Zuma's has an injury history as well. Like that's like what, 5 of their 6 or 7 center backs? Like that's a lot. Like, and they leaked goals last year. Like that's just what they did. I mean, I know that towards the end when Tuchel took over, he really battened down the hatches, but they weren't going out and winning like 4 or 5, nothing or 3-0. They were winning games 2-1 or 2-0 or maybe 1-0. And if they really try to open it up this year, like are they gonna get caught at the back again? Because that's kind of what happened to Lampard. Again, I don't want to go to advanced stats, but they had one of the best expected goals ratios, last year and the year before, and then they just couldn't put the ball in the net. So
that's what makes a season, right?
Yeah.
Every season brings its own challenges. 2 years ago, United had one of the best defenses in the Premier League. Last year, they couldn't have held water in a bucket. I mean, they were just so bad, leaky at the back. Chelsea couldn't score. Liverpool, who were scoring for fun, couldn't score goals. Like we don't know what the issues are going to be from season to season. It could be that we're all overreacting to a new manager bump, that Tuchel came in at the right time. He lifted them through. Go on. You end up winning the Champions League. Full credit. We'll even forget how you lost the FA Cup and to Leicester. and everybody wants to anoint them. I am not surprised though, Sean, at the odds that you're giving me. You know, their job is to get betting action on both sides.
Yeah.
right? So it's not a matter of what you really think is going to happen. It's what you think the people think is going to happen so that you can get equal action on both sides so that they don't lose money. You don't have Vegas because those books lose a lot of money, right?
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
not in business to lose money. So
I personally don't think that Man City are a 4-6.
Yeah, that's crazy.
4-6 to win the title. To me, that's far too short.
that's why everybody
Way too short.
We need to go to our bookie sponsor of the show and get odds off Cam and find out how much Cam's offering.
yes, we will get in
this
touch.
particular
But
market. Yeah.
all right, well, man, it has been an
Oh.
eventful show. The return of Coach Matt. In fact, we have both Coach Matt and Coach G. So what in the world is going on over there at Schalke right now?
We're doing great.
Great things are happening. Great things are happening. Just watch us in the news right now. Just seeing Coach Matt and myself on the sidelines. Look at good things at Schalke. Come on, you big Blues. Let's go, man. Matt's got a solid offensive plan going right now. Got a good defensive plan. Got some good new hope right now. Things are looking good. So just watch out for us.
That is the epitome of coach speak.
That's right.
That's how you answer a question without actually saying anything.
We're gonna
I learned from the best.
Yes.
We're gonna matriculate the ball. Don't worry about it. We're gonna go down the field. We're gonna matriculate
yes,
it.
We're going to matriculate the
Recycle.
ball down the field and recycle
right.
it. Both teams
right.
played hard. Both teams
Yeah.
played hard.
That's right. And there's a winner and there's a loser. And you know what? On any given day, anything can
Defense
happen.
can come up strong.
That's
Goalies
right.
can make some great saves, keep us in the games and everything. We're gonna
Right.
score one more goal than them, get 3 points. So, that's what we're getting all ask for our players.
Exactly.
I want to thank Coach Matt for rejoining us. Coach G and Sean, Chelsea Mike for coming on, Andy the Hammer, Larry the
Thank you.
insurance guy, and Los. Jeez, when we say it's the Too Many Guys soccer show, it's nights like tonight that we're talking about where we just have to balance all of these characters coming on, but it's been fun. And of course, Stead, producer, for joining us from his vacation and staying safe from the black bear so that he was able to produce the show for us. Man, this has really been a lot of fun. Like I said, it's the most wonderful show of the year. It's that one time a year where we all have hope. This is as optimistic as you will hear us the whole entire season. I trust if you come back in a couple of months, at least 3 of us are going to be down in the doldrums about ready to cancel everybody involved and switch teams. But for the many people who came on, I'm Mike. This has been the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. We did all right this week. We'll try and do better next week. Peace.